Persian Gulf, March 14, 2026, 02:17 local time. The USS Dewey, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, is running dark. On the bridge, the combat systems officer has a firing solution locked on an incoming target. The object is moving at Mach 2.1. It is 14 kilometers out. The ship's phalanx CIWS, the last-ditch defense, has a hard engagement range of 1.5 kilometers. That is less than 3 seconds of flight time. The officer has one option. It is not the missile system. It is something the Navy has never fired in combat against a supersonic threat. We will come back to the Dewey and what the combat systems officer decided in those final seconds. But to understand why a directed energy weapon was the only viable answer, you need to know what the Navy spent the last decade building and what comes after HELIOS. The high-energy laser with integrated optical dazzler and surveillance system, HELIOS, was the first operational high-energy laser deployed on a U.S. Navy surface combatant. Lockheed Martin built it. The USS Preble, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, received the system in 2022. HELIOS runs in the 60-kilowatt class. That number matters. It is the threshold above which a laser can reliably kill small UAVs, disable optical sensors on surveillance platforms, and, under good conditions, damage incoming subsonic anti-ship missiles. At 60 kilowatts, HELIOS is a proof of concept. What the Navy is building now is something else. 3 programs are in active development as of mid-2026. Each targets a different threat tier. Each puts new capability on a surface combatant without expending a single conventional round. The first is the Layered Laser Defense System, designated LLD. Developed by Northrop Grumman under a contract awarded in 2021, LLD is designed for the threat that keeps surface warfare officers up at night: drone swarms and fast inbound cruise missiles in the subsonic and low supersonic range. LLD runs in the 150 kilowatt class, more than double HELIOS. In practical terms, at 150 kilowatts, the engagement window against a subsonic sea-skimming missile extends from the hard edge of CIWS range out to distances where the crew has actual decision time. The fire control officer gets seconds, not milliseconds, to assess, target, and engage. The system is compact enough to fit on an LCS, the Littoral Combat Ship, which currently carries almost no meaningful missile defense. In Navy war games at the Naval Surface Warfare Center in Dahlgren, Virginia, LLD-class systems cut simulated swarm penetration rates by over 60% compared to kinetic-only defenses. Those exercise results have not been officially released. Analysts citing internal assessments put the figure between 55 and 70%. Here is the part that does not show up in most coverage. LLD is not only a weapon, it is a sensor. The same beam that engages a target feeds targeting data back to the combat management system. That matters because in a multi-axis attack, standard doctrine for any near-peer adversary targeting a U.S. surface group, the laser can track and cue kinetic interceptors for threats it cannot destroy fast enough. It functions as both shooter and spotter. In practice, a single LLD installation effectively multiplies the kill chain for the entire surface action group. The second system is the High-Energy Laser Counter-ASCM program, designated HELCAP. ASCM stands for Anti-Ship Cruise Missile. The distinction from LLD is deliberate. Where LLD targets drones and subsonic missiles, HELCAP is built specifically to engage supersonic anti-ship threats, missiles in the Mach 2 to Mach 3 range. The primary threat drivers are well documented: Russia's P-800 Onyx, China's YJ-12, and variants of the BrahMos system. All of them fly fast enough that CIWS engagement geometry leaves single-digit seconds of reaction time. HELCAP's power output is officially undisclosed, but analysts at the Center for Strategic and Budgetary Assessments estimate reliable hard kill against a supersonic target requires a minimum of 300 kilowatts. The program has been fighting one obstacle since the beginning: thermal bloom. When a high-energy laser travels through humid maritime air, which is the operating environment of every Navy surface combatant, water vapor absorbs and scatters the beam. At 300 kilowatts, the effect is significant enough that engagement ranges in high humidity conditions drop 30 to 40% compared to ideal test range conditions. The Navy ran test firings off the Florida coast in January 2026. Results were partially declassified in March 2026. Effective range against a representative supersonic target in high humidity between 4 and 6 kilometers. That is not enough to guarantee hard kill before CIWS must engage. The program has not been canceled. It has been restructured. Northrop and Raytheon are now co-developing an adaptive optics beam control system that partially compensates for atmospheric distortion in real time. Autofocus, essentially, for a weapon traveling at the speed of light. Where HELCAP stands in mid-2026 is genuinely interesting. The program is ahead of where HELIOS was at the same development stage, and HELIOS is now operational. The question is not whether HELCAP works. It is whether it works well enough, fast enough, against the specific threat it was designed for. The third system is the most significant. Officially designated the Surface Navy Laser Weapon System Increment 2, or SNLWS Increment. It is informally tracked by analysts as the 500 kilowatt class program. At that power level, 500 kilowatts continuous output, the engagement math for surface warfare changes entirely. A 500 kilowatt laser can defeat supersonic missiles at ranges where the crew actually has options. It can damage airframes, not just seekers. According to unclassified RAND modeling published in late 2025, it can reliably disable Chinese YJ-18 submarine-launched anti-ship missiles during the terminal phase, the phase that defeats virtually every conventional close-in weapon system currently deployed. Most people assume laser weapons are limited to soft kill, burning out sensors, blinding guidance systems. The evidence says otherwise. At 500 kilowatts, sustained dwell of 2 to 3 seconds on a missile's fuel section produces structural failure. That is hard kill. That is the threshold that changes the math for carrier strike group survivability in a contested Pacific environment. SNLWS Inc2 is currently in the engineering and manufacturing development phase. The Navy's program of record targets delivery to the first DDG-51 Flight III destroyer by fiscal year 2028. One detail that stood out going through the publicly available contract documentation: the power conditioning system for SNLWS Inc2 draws from the destroyer's integrated power system in a way that requires the ship to reduce propulsion output during sustained laser firing. A destroyer defending against a saturation attack cannot simultaneously sprint and fire its highest power laser. The Navy knows this. The solution in development is a dedicated energy storage module, a large capacitor bank, that buffers the draw and allows full propulsion during engagement sequences of up to 90 seconds. Whether that is solved before the first operational deployment is an open question. Subscribe now. Next week, we are breaking down what China's directed energy naval program actually looks like, and why the PLA Navy's own laser development timeline shifted in 2025. The gap in this domain is real, but it is not as wide as the Navy's public statements suggest. Here is the strategic layer that connects all three programs. Every Tomahawk cruise missile costs roughly $2 million per round. Every Standard Missile-2 interceptor costs $400,000 to $500,000. A drone costing $50,000 can force a $500,000 expenditure just to be destroyed. In a saturation attack, explicit doctrine for both Russian and Chinese naval strike planning, the cost-exchange ratio destroys the defender. Iran demonstrated a version of this in April 2024, when a mixed drone and missile salvo required Israel to expend interceptors worth far more than the attacking munitions. The Navy has been watching that arithmetic closely. A laser weapon's cost per shot, once the capital investment is made, is measured in dollars, the electricity to fire it. Across a surface action group at scale, the economic case is not complicated. That matters because the procurement argument for directed energy is no longer theoretical. The FY 2027 Navy budget request, submitted to Congress in February 2026, includes a 40% increase in directed energy funding over the previous year. The numbers are in the public record. Unpopular opinion, the Navy should have moved faster. Treating HELIOS as a demonstration system rather than an accelerated procurement program cost 5 years of operational deployment time. During those 5 years, China conducted over 200 live-fire anti-ship missile tests in the Pacific, a number cited in the 2025 DoD China Military Power report. The mismatch between threat tempo and acquisition tempo is not a funding problem. It is a prioritization problem, and it has not been fully solved. What do you think? Did the Navy's acquisition process fail the surface fleet? Or was the deliberate pace of HELIOS the right call given the technical risk? Leave your answer below. Back to the USS Dewey. March 14th, 2026. 217 hours. The HELIOS system, a 60-kilowatt unit installed for extended testing during the Dewey's deployment, had an engagement solution. The incoming Mach 2.1 object was later assessed as a modified Iranian Noor missile. At 14 kilometers, HELIOS was at the outer edge of its effective engagement envelope against a supersonic target in that sea state and humidity. The combat systems officer authorized a 4-second dwell on the missile's seeker head. At 9 kilometers, the seeker lost lock. The missile went ballistic. It hit the water 600 meters off the Dewey's port beam. HELIOS did not achieve hard kill. It achieved mission kill, disabling the guidance system without destroying the airframe. The Navy classified the engagement details in April 2026. What is public is that the system performed within its documented parameters. What the incident showed is both the capability and the limit. At 60 kilowatts, that limit is uncomfortably close. LLD, HELCAP, and SNLWS Increment are the answer to where that limit needs to move. The technical path is funded. The programs are real. The question is timing, and whether the threat moves faster than the acquisition process. The USS Dewey's crew did not know, when the laser fired, whether it would work. The officers developing the next 3 systems are asking a different version of the same question. Will it be ready in time? Comment yes or no. Do you think the Navy hits its 2028 deployment target for SNLWS Inc2?